All right, let's jump into some news from the DAO ecosystem as a whole. Drew Kaufman from Base tweeted out something like literally right before we started recording, and I thought was great and kind of a good transition from, the frothiness of the ETF and the market and kind of the precursor of this upcoming bull. But he tweeted, "On-chain governance is a genuine or still so early situation." Something, if you're probably listening to this, if you've been a long-term listener or, you are a Tally employee like we are, something we've been preaching from the rooftops for the past, 2-3 years. But it's good to see some takes from Drew and just proliferating that idea into the ecosystem. I think it is very true. I think we would all agree here. And then a great response, 100% and so much value to be created. Effective on-chain governance is an unforkable moat. Frisian, thoughts on that? I think we all know your answer, but I'd love to hear your take from Drew tweeting this out.
Yeah. I think it's true. It's still so early. We're still so early is an interesting meme that you can take in many different ways, right? We talked about this a lot during the bear market, but there's just been a lot of progress, right? Because if you're still early and also you're not improving the situation, then you're just permanently early, and then you're not early to anything. There's nothing in the future to be early to. But if you were to really, which maybe we should do this, really draw out the history of on-chain governance and all the progress that's been made, basically since DeFi launched, which is the first time that on-chain governance was really needed. It's been tremendous growth. This year, a lot of the innovation and growth in 2023 was in layer twos, both Arbitrum and Optimism. Both of their DAOs were some of the most important parts of the entire crypto space. Just funding initiatives, doing retro PGF, launching on-chain incentives. They really innovated around how does a community coordinate around assets, right? How does a decentralized community coordinate around a treasury, around shared assets stored in a smart contract to drive growth? And both those projects are doing really well, right? And the DAO is the on-chain governance process is deeply intertwined into the growth of the protocol in a very clear, very tangible way. So I think it's going really well, and what we're still so early means in this case is it's working and it's going to work incredibly well, right? I think what we're still so early to is it's it doesn't yet work well enough for people who don't absolutely have to have it, which is basically crypto protocols, to use it aggressively, right? And so in the last bear market, we saw a lot of quote unquote DAOs that sort of wanted to have a community governance driven thing, but didn't really have something concrete to govern, kind of flounder a little bit. Something concrete that had to be governed on chain, right? In the same way that a roll-ups contracts or treasury do. And so I think what we'll see in this, this next 3 to 5 years is really people extending the idea of on-chain governance or just governance in general and decentralized autonomous organizations outside of we'll see a lot of growth kind of in crypto, more layer twos, more DeFi protocols, et cetera. But we'll start to see some of the technology that is put in place to kind of coordinate around resources with on-chain governance be extended outside of these core use cases where it's flourishing.
Yeah, the tools are already there for the most part. I'm not disagreeing with you, Frisian, just talking in general. I think something we always talk about internally is another thing that goes hand in hand with Drew's tweet. If you're listening to this, you know this, but we can talk about it all we want and preach about it all we want and educate it as much as we can. But when it comes down to it, it's okay. If you're listening to this, where can you make a direct impact in? It sounds so cultish and like a religion, but proliferating, best practices into the organizations you care about. I think it all comes down to I did an internal presentation last week. It's the only limit you have is the story you're telling yourself and the limits you're placing on yourself. It's not as hard as you think to create an unforkable moat, like that reply to Drew's tweet is saying. The tools are there. The best practices are there, and we're doing our best to, make them as easily as accessible as possible, not just like by creating them, but by, creating network effects, going to events, talking to people, making it cool. I think a big part of on-chain governance being early is it's still not cool. It's still not cool to do because it does seem a little boring sometimes. But in fact, it is cool because it's creating a more equitable system and locking in value and protecting your protocol, protecting your organization. So I would just encourage people to see that and like actually, make an impact wherever you can. And if you don't know the best way to do that, I'd say follow us. Version's really good at helping people get involved more on the technical side. I feel like I'm more, suited to, having entries into more of the non-technical community design side of things. And the CHG, I feel like, is like a perfect middle ground to that, which is why I think we all mesh together. But yeah, still very early, and we're excited to, the tools are there, like I said, but like Version said, they're going to expand outside of, the use case they're in now. And we're constantly building. And if you want to get involved with that, like give us feedback, use Tally, use other DAO tools. You don't have to just use Tally. And you literally can. This is early internet. This is early 2000s internet. You can make a direct impact on where this industry and where this movement of on-chain governance goes. So feel motivated, feel empowered, because that's the at the core of it. That's what it is.
I think we're starting to see more experimentation in governance, which is really cool. Even the inbound from Tally in the last few months has been wildly different than I imagine it was a year ago, or what we've even seen out there a year ago. So some examples are places asking for optimistic governance, asking for VE token style voting, asking for these like unique integrations and voting systems that we haven't really seen in the past.
Yeah, absolutely.